Welcome to Marty Robbins' Super Legend. Portrait of a man who was a million-selling recording artist, a Grammy Award-winning songwriter, star of the Grand Ole Opry, Las Vegas headliner, the host of 3 different TV series, star of action-packed movies, and a frequent race driver on the NASCAR Grand National Circuit. Ladies and gentlemen, your host, John Schneider.
Thank you. Marty Robbins. For 30 years, the name was magic for fans from Nashville to London, from New York to Las Vegas. Exciting, high-energy stage shows were his trademark. High-speed races were his passion, and writing moving story songs satisfied the more sensitive side to the man. But there was much more than that to Marty Robbins. He possessed the winning combination held by those who become legends: talent, fired by deep faith and a defiant rebel spirit. With the help of Marty's family, his friends, and that wonderful music of his, it is my great pleasure to bring you the fascinating personal story of Marty Robbins, Super Legend.
Welcome to Marty Robbins' Super Legend, with your host, John Schneider, and Marty's friends, Roy Acuff, Bobby Allison, Little Jimmy Dickens, Ralph Emery, Larry Gatlin, Merle Haggard, Brenda Lee, Barbara Mandrell, Darrell Waltrip, Farron Young, the family of Marty Robbins, and many others.
A white sport coat and a pink carnation. I'm all dressed up for the dance. A white sport coat and a big carnation. I'm all alone in romance.
From the teen songs of the 50s to his legendary songs of the Old West, Marty Robbins' popularity spanned many musical styles. He was the fans' repeated choice for awards ranging from male vocalist to single record of the year. He received worldwide acclaim and was named Best International Male Vocalist and also Great Britain's Entertainer of the Year. In 1970, he was the Academy of Country Music's first recipient of their Man of the Decade Award. The list of awards goes on for Marty Robbins, Super Legend. He survived 2 heart attacks and heart surgery where he technically died on the table, and also 3 major racing accidents. One was a collision with a concrete wall at 150 miles per hour. Now, Marty's career included 18 #1 records, 12 of which he wrote himself. And somehow he found the time to record 71 albums, sing or appear in more than 20 movies, host 3 of his own television series, and be one of the most loved regulars on the Grand Ole Opry. Now, whether performing on stage, competing on the racetrack, or enjoying his very, very private family life, Marty earned the reputation of doing things his way. And that's the Marty we want to tell you about. His friends in the music business commented that in his entire career, his popularity never diminished.
Marty Robbins was an incredible performer. When he walked on the stage, it was like, I'm supposed to be here. I know I'm supposed to be here, and you know I'm supposed to be here, and here we go. I remember he'd take that little guitar and he'd play, then he'd go to the piano and he'd clown around with the band. He was really a fine songwriter. I'm very partial to singer-songwriters, I guess, as most people know. He was a great songwriter. El Paso is one of the best songs I ever heard. He had an old gunfighter album. I forget what the name of it was. Going out of Kansas City, going west to Mexico. Well, a great album. I remember that as a kid. A very fine songwriter. And like I say, when he hit the stage, you got your money's worth. He was a great singer, great songwriter, wacky. He was really wacky. He had a lot of fun. I miss him. Some years ago, Marty hosted his own television series, the Marty Robbins Spotlight. And it was a great time, a great chance for entertainers to come on the show and sing maybe songs off their new albums or something like that, do their own little segment. But also it was a time to be able to sit there on a stool with Marty and swap songs, and I remember doing it. I enjoyed it very much. Just to sit beside the man and hear him sing, I'd pay the price of admission for that. He'd fool around a little bit and clown around and have a good time, but he had a way of letting you know that he was sitting there interested in what you were doing, and you'd sing a certain line and his eyes would kind of roll back or he'd shake his head, and that always gave me a feeling of satisfaction because this man is a man that I idolized. He was a hero of mine and still is. So he kind of let us know that we were singing the right notes and the right words.
Over and over and over, I have tried to do right by you. But over and over, the things I say just prove to be over and over untrue. Oh, but I'll take the blame and I'll bear. Quit, Marty, the shame. It ain't your fault. We're probably doing it over now. No, darling, it's all mine. If practice makes perfect, then I'm leaving you perfect this time.
We were always kidding with each other. You know, he'd poke me in the ribs like while I was trying to sing this high note on this song, and I was clowning back with him. He was very special in that not only did he, he could, kind of give you a shot in the ribs, he could take it too. He was a heck of a guy. He really was. A lot of fun.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill, on Blueberry Hill, when I found you, the moon stood still on Blueberry Hill and lingered until my dreams came true.
Sometimes you work with people and you can hear them singing from the, you're in your dressing room and they're on stage and you listen. But, I mean, after all, folks, we do that 150 some odd times a year. But when I worked with Marty Robbins, I stood by the side of the stage and I watched and I listened because I felt like that I could learn something. And I was standing over there one night and he was clowning and giving a bunch of, kind of raking me over the coals in his good-natured way and telling the audience what a worthless cat I was or whatever. And he stopped and he looked at me and said, but in all seriousness, folks, he said, I think Larry Gatlin is the best singer-songwriter I've heard since Merle Haggard. And coming from a man like Marty Robbins, that's probably as fine a compliment as I've ever been paid. Maybe it sounds self-serving for me to even talk about it, but you talk about a personal moment, something that I'll never forget. Coming from Marty Robbins, that was real special to me.
Abilene, prettiest town I've ever seen. Women there don't treat you mean in Abilene. My Abilene, I sat alone most every night, watch them trains pull out of sight. Don't I wish they would carry me to Abilene, my Abilene. Abilene, Abilene, prettiest town I've ever seen. Women there don't treat you mean in Abilene, my Abilene. That's your turn.
Crowded city, there ain't nothing rude. Nothing in this town for me. Wish to the Lord that I could be in Abilene, my Abilene. No, shooby-doo, shooby-doo, Abilene.
The early Opry years and Marty's discovery with the king of country music, Roy Acuff, and little Jimmy Dickens, coming up next.
Throughout his career, Marty was to appear on countless major television shows. and to host 3 series of his very own. Now, to the viewer's eye, Marty was relaxed and having a wonderful time.
Hey, I would like to tell you how great that was.
Oh.
And as soon as I get my breath back, I will.
This string is the 3rd string, it's the G string. This string is the 3rd string, it's the G string.
So pack your rusty razor. Don't bother with goodbye.
That TV personality was all part of Marty's commitment to give his audience his very best. Even though it was no secret that Marty was never comfortable on television. In fact, when Marty was first offered to host his own television series, he didn't hesitate to turn it down. Only a threat from the station manager that he'd be fired from his radio job made Marty do the television show. It was that show in 1951 that led to Marty's signing with Columbia Records, a relationship that was to span almost 30 years of recording success.
Hey, Jimmy Dickens was going through Phoenix, Arizona one time with the Grand Ole Opry show, and I had a show in Phoenix, just me and the guitar playing and singing, and he came up to be on my show to plug the Grand Ole Opry show that was playing in Phoenix. And he liked my singing, and it made me happy, and I think so much of Jimmy Dickens for that he stood and listened to me. He said he liked my singing, and he was going to speak to CBS Records when he got to California. He did. CBS came to Phoenix, Arizona, to listen to me and signed me up. So the people that don't like my singing, don't blame me. Blame Jimmy Dickens, because he started it.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man with a good eye, a great ear, and a big heart. Little Jimmy Dickens.
How are you? It's nice to see you.
My pleasure.
So you're the man to blame, as Marty would say, huh?
Well, I don't know, John. Marty always said that I was very instrumental in his career because he figured that if I could make it, anybody could. I knew immediately that there was a young man there that should be heard, and so I went on to Los Angeles with our show at the Grand Ole Opry and told Mr. Satherley about him. And well, he almost turned that down, too, but he did go ahead and sign it. You know, he was making $750 a month there in Phoenix.
Well, shoot.
On the station, you know, and on, but he did go ahead and sign, and his 3rd record was I'll Go On Alone, which made the top 10.
Mm-hmm. That's the song that caught the attention of very, very powerful Nashville music producer Fred Rose. In fact, Mr. Rose was so impressed, he flew to Arizona and signed Marty to the songwriter's contract that brought him right here to Nashville. Marty had another top 10 hit in that first year. Here it is in one of Marty's first national television appearances. And Jimmy, see if you don't recognize the man who introduces him.
And now, neighbor, it's time for a pretty song. I know that all you good folks and friends out there will enjoy the entertainment of this particular fellow because he's one of our favorites and a favorite of everybody where he's presented. Give a nice round of applause, please, neighbor, to my good friend Marty Robbins. What do you say?
I saw you walking by his side, heard you whisper all those lines, and I couldn't keep from crying. You sang him love songs tenderly, just the way you sang to me, and I couldn't keep from crying. Saw you capture all his joy as you nestle in his arms with his pretty words and ways. In your heart he took my place. I stood and watched him steal a kiss from 2 lips I know I'll miss.
It's a good feeling to know that you were a part of introducing to country music and to the world one of the greatest voices and greatest talents of all time. Marty became a member of the Opry in 1953 and one of the Opry's most loved stars. He was shy at first, but once he got the confidence, there was no telling what he might do.
I'm sure we'll hear a lot more about that when we talk to our next wonderful guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome the king of country music, Mr. Roy Acuff.
Hello, sir.
Hi, Don. How you doing? Pretty good. And you?
I'm just fine. It's a pleasure to be sitting here with
It
you.
was nice to meet you just a while ago for my first time.
What happened when Marty Robbins first came into Nashville?
I remember very well. Marty was a fine-looking young boy with a lot of talent. And he had the kind of physique and the face and all that a lot of the young girls looked at him. And that pleased him, too. When he first started, then no one knew him, and his songs were not the most popular songs that were being sung. And he wouldn't get as big a hand as he would like to have had. And but he learned how to conquer that. He started to cheer in his own self.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he finished one of his songs, he'd run off over to the side of the stage and he'd get them to cheering him, you know. He wanted to hear you. And he wasn't satisfied until they did. And finally, it became part of Marty's show. They'd wait for Marty to lead his own cheering squad.
Really?
Yeah, and but he got him into it. He'd get into anything that where you could be seen and heard and be applauded. Applauded. He lived on it. He thrived on it. One time, I understood he wanted to be a prize fighter. He wanted because there was a lot of cheering and everything.
I understand you had a nickname for him. What did you call him?
I called him Canvasback Robbins. He spent more time on the canvas on his back than he did stand-up fighting. I could have whooped him the best day he ever saw. I never did better for a fight, though, because he wasn't the type of person that I'd want to fight.
No?
He was the type of person I wanted to like.
Yeah.
And I learned to like him. I learned to love him. And believe me, he was very successful in the business that I'm in.
Yeah.
And he's an inspiration. He was a good songwriter.
Yes.
He wrote songs. He sung them well. He delivered them good. He'd fill an auditorium with people, and that's what he wanted to do.
Well, I never felt more like singing the blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do me this way? Well, I never felt more like crying all night, 'cause everything's wrong and nothing ain't right without you. You got me singing the blues. The moon and stars no longer shine. The dream is gone I thought was. There's nothing left for me to but cry over you. Well, I never felt more like running away, but why should I go? 'Cause I couldn't stay without you. You got me singing the blues.
We missed him so much. We missed him so much. He was just a lovable, likable young man, and he had a lot of friends. A lot of friends.
Rainwater blowing all under my hood. I knew it was doing my nose. Maybelline, why can't you be true? Oh, Maybelline, why can't you be true? You done started back doing the things you used to do. Well, the motor goes down, he went down. That's when I heard that the highway come. Cadillac sound like a tunnel left. 110, a half a mile ahead. Cadillac look like sitting still. Call Maybelline at the top of the hill. Maybelline, why can't you be true? Oh, Maybelline, why can't you be true? You just started back doing the things you used to do.
From the movie screen to the TV screen, Marty's cowboy career with Farron Young and John Schneider. Next.
I always wanted to be, I prayed to be a singing cowboy. It's what I wanted to be.
That was Marty's strongest wish, to follow in the footsteps of his hero, Gene Autry, the one man who influenced him more than anyone else throughout his lifetime.
Because, see, when I was a little kid, like 9, 10, and 11 years old, I would pick cotton or I would clean ditch, whatever I could find a job. I'd have to walk from where I lived, way out on the desert, into the nearest house was about 8 miles. And I wouldn't get but about 25 cents a day, but it only cost, I think, 10 cents to get in the movie. And the biggest bottle of pop that you could get was a nickel, and you could get a big sack of popcorn for 5 cents also. So I'd have a nickel left. Well, I would go in at 12:45 when it opened, and I would stay till Gene Autry was through that night, 10-something. I'd walk back across the desert by myself, you know, just a little kid. But I wasn't afraid, because I had just seen Gene Autry, and I was Gene Autry that night, you know.
Marty built his childhood dreams on fantasies of the Old West. Later, as a young man, movies were no longer an escape. They were reality, as Marty began a long movie career, singing or appearing in more than 20 films. Well, naturally, the scripts were about things that Marty loved the most: country music, racing, and cowboys in the Old West.
Just in my vision, but plainly I see the ranger that killed her is standing there waiting for me. I rise to meet him, my one thought is beating. He deserves death, and I swear that this ranger will die. I beat his jaw and I shot him 6 times just as fast as the bullets could fly. My gun is empty, or more I will shoot him. Now there are others just like him that want me to die. Their bullets are coming my way. How they hurt when they hit me. The pain makes me fall to the ground.
It wasn't unusual for country music fans to spot some of their other favorite singers in Marty's westerns either. He had saddle pals like Webb Pierce, Carl Smith, and the singing sheriff, Mr. Farron Young.
Hello, Walt.
Hello.
Hello, John.
How are you?
Good to be here with you.
Well, thanks for coming out. Why don't you share some experiences? I mean, the early years of Marty in the movies.
The writers, I hear nowadays complain if you change anything in a script.
Yeah.
Marty Robbins rewrote scripts right as he shot the film. You never knew what he was going to do. I had a death scene one time where I shot Marty. When Marty keeps looking at me, and by the time he really gets serious, he gives me this high sign. Well, they got to cut. We did this 30 times. And the worst part was when I finally get him into the local jail, I had to get Marty off the horse and put him on my back, and we was in Kanab, Utah. Mm-hmm. The sand is this deep. And Marty wasn't all that light. I'm not too big a guy anyway. But I get him over my shoulder, and I'm walking right at the camera, and Marty's goosing me. Nobody can see me. And I'm trying to keep a straight face. So we did this about 10 takes, too, till I was down to my knees in the sand.
Let's get back to Gene Autry for 1 second. There was one story that Marty enjoyed telling about Gene Autry over and over and over.
First time I ever saw him, I came in when the movie was on, and I remember the very first words I heard him say. He had done something that was real great, so they wanted to run him for sheriff of this little town. And so he climbed up into a wagon, and I don't know where the guitar came from, but he got it. And he said, well, he said, I'm not much at making speeches. I guess I'll just have to sing for you. So he sang a song.
You know, if you ever saw Marty's series, The Drifter, now you know that Marty must have took a lesson from Gene Autry, because the Drifter's answer to any situation was to sing a song.
But you're sure a dead ringer for the Sundown Kid. Say, you by any chance play that thing and maybe sing a little bit?
Oh, yeah, I play a few numbers on it.
Well, I happen to know that the kid couldn't carry a tune in a bucket, so if you can play that thing and sing, I guess, well, maybe you ain't him.
Take the gun belt off and drop it. Don't make no sudden moves. I ain't shot a revenue in nigh on to a year.
Just do what Paul says.
You pick that thing and sing, stranger?
Oh, a little bit.
Sing us one, so while we decide what we're gonna do with you.
I'd shake your hands if I could, but I'm kind of tied up right
Just
now.
a little bit. Time here, boys, and give him back his gun and guitar.
Thanks.
Drifter, it's good to see you again, buddy. No
Good
kidding.
to see
Real
you.
Nice. Captain, this Drifter is the singingest one man I ever heard in my life.
Well, what I heard a little while ago, Bob, I'm kind of inclined to go along with you there. Feel like doing another one?
Well, so I sure do. Matter of fact,
People tell me that I'd sing at the drop of a hat.
Well, now, if that's all you're waiting for, buddy, there's a hat.
No reason for me to sing.
8 songs in every show. Wow. Now, the Drifter might have been a cowboy, but he was just like Marty. He sang every kind of music, from Mexican to Hawaiian, cowboy, a little bit of everything. You know, one of my favorites was when Tex Ritter talked the Drifter into singing the beautiful song, Cool, Clear Water.
There ain't no cool water.
All day I face the barren waste without the taste of water. Cool water. Old Dan and I with throats burned dry and souls that cry for water. Cool, clear water.
It didn't matter whether Marty was singing, acting, or writing. He loved the stories inspired by the Old West. In 1959, a very controversial Marty Robbins record was released, and that was to make music history.
Yeah, and I know the song you mean because all the experts out there predicted it would never get on the air.
And all the experts were wrong because that song was called El Paso. The controversy over El Paso was that it was 4 minutes and 37 seconds long. Now, that was an unheard of length for a record in that day and age.
Yeah, just about everybody had something to say about how long it was. But funny thing is, it's still around, ain't it, friends?
The song was heard again and again across the entire country as it stayed on the charts for 14 months. It earned Marty a gold record, a gold album, and it was the first Grammy ever awarded to a country song.
Out in the West Texas town of El Paso, fell in love with a Mexican girl. That time at Pine in Rose's Cantina, music would play and Polino would whirl. Blacker than night were the eyes of Polino, looking at evil while casting a spell. My love was deep for this Mexican maiden. I was in love, but in vain I could tell. One night a wild young cowboy came in, wild as the West Texas wind. Dashing and daring, a drink he was sharing with wicked Paulina, the girl that I love. So in anger, I challenged his right, pulled out his spade, down put his hand for the gun that he wore. My challenge was answered in less than a heartbeat, and some young stranger lay dead on the floor. Just for a moment, I stood there in silence, shocked for the foul evil deed I had done. Many thoughts raced through my mind as I stood there. I had the one chance, and that was to run. Out through the back door of Roses I ran, out where the horses were torn. I caught a good one, it looked like it could run, up on its back and away I did ride, just as fast as I could from the West Texas town of El Paso, down through the Badlands of New Mexico. Like in El Paso, my life would be worthless. Everything's gone in life, nothing is left. It's been so long since I've seen the young maid. My love is stronger than my fear of death. I set it up and away I did go, riding alone in the dawn. Maybe tomorrow a bullet will find me. Tonight nothing's worse than this pain in my heart. And at last here I am on the hill overlooking El Paso. I can see Rose's Cantina below. My love is strong, it pushes hill to Polina I go. Off to my right I see 500 cowboys. Off to my left, right, a dozen or more. Shouting and shooting, I can't let them catch me. I have to make it to Rose's back door. Something dreadful you're on for, I feel a deep burning pain in my soul. Though I am trying to stay in the saddle, I'm getting weary, unable to ride. But my love for Polina is strong. I rise to ride for. Though I am weary, I can't stop to rest. I see the white puff of smoke from the white folk. I feel the bullet go deep in my chest. From out of nowhere, Polina has found me, kissing my cheek as she kneels by my side. Cradled by two loving arms that I'll die for. One little kiss and Polina.
Major heart surgery, and a musical comeback with friends Merle Haggard and Ralph Emery when we come back to Marty Robbins' Super Legend.
In 1968, a major Las Vegas showroom booked the very first country artist to appear on the strip. It was Marty Robbins. Marty performed to sell-out crowds, to great reviews, and country music found a brand new audience starting that night. 1 year later, though, working his way back to Nashville, after another successful Las Vegas engagement, Marty suffered a major heart attack. In a later television interview, Marty described his feelings.
When I finally decided it might be a heart attack, you know, I had already turned a number of different colors, you know, but I couldn't hear anything that the guys in the band were saying. And we were about an hour away from a hospital. And I couldn't hear anything they were saying, or I couldn't feel them touching me, you see. And I felt like I was a hot dog, just ready to pop open. You know, I had such a terrible pain in my chest.
At the hospital, the diagnosis was made, and Marty's reaction was typical.
He said, "You've had a heart attack." I said, "No." So he said, "Well, you're going to have to stay here 3 days." I said, "Oh, I can't. We got a show date to do this afternoon." And he said, "You're not going to do the show date." He says, "You're staying here for 3 days." So I said to him, I said, "Well, look," I said, if I promise to go to Cleveland, which was about 40 miles away, I said, and catch a plane back to Nashville, I said, will you let me go?" He said, "Yeah." If you promise to do that. We went up and played the show date. I had a big time jumping all around the stage, just having a big time, with only half of my heart beating. The lower half had stopped.
Marty's longtime friends and band members, Bobby Sykes and Don Winters, will never forget that show.
He would not disappoint them in any way if it was at all possible. So although we didn't want him to do the show, he said, "No, we're going to do the show because I'm not going to disappoint those people."
I was literally scared to death. I couldn't keep my eyes off of Marty because, like I said, he kept, you know, giving little facial expressions. I knew it was hurting.
About 20 minutes prior to the normal end of the show, Marty, we noticed he wasn't very active on stage. He was staying more or less stationary. And he looked over at me and he said, "Bobby," between songs, he said, go to the manager's show and have him get me some security to get me to the bus." He said, "I don't want to stop for anything or anyone." He said, "I really feel bad." And we could tell that he was getting a little ashen looking, you know, a little washed out looking and haggard looking. And El Paso is a very demanding song. We finished with El Paso, and he handed Don Winters his guitar, and he looked at me, and it was just almost a blank look, but he said, "Boy," he said, "I'd like not to have made that."
One of the few, I think, entertainers that would, he'd give a show for his fans, or he'd fall on stage crying.
Back in Nashville, Marty was told that he had from 3 to 6 months to live unless he agreed to have very risky open-heart surgery, which at that time was extremely experimental. Marty became the 15th person in medical history to have bypass surgery. Years later, Marty revealed that after that surgery, he came as close as he ever had to giving up. But he found the strength he needed to fight back, maybe because of a very moving experience.
Now, the doctor said that I died while I was on the operating table, you see. Well, I want to tell you something that happened to me. Well, I saw, and I've only told this to my wife. Now, maybe I was dead, maybe I wasn't. But I saw a river. I never told this to anybody except my wife. And I saw underneath the tree on the other side, I saw Jesus Christ. I saw him in a purple robe with a white, something white. Maybe it was another robe underneath it, about 2 or 3 inches of the white robe hanging out. I wanted to walk across this river to him, and he shook his head.
A deeply religious person, Marty often said, "I'm a believer, not a preacher." And he believed if he were meant to live, he should live life to its fullest.
The doctor told me that I would never race again. In fact, he said, "You'll live a very quiet life." I said, "Hey, no way I'd live a quiet life." And, I didn't think it was up to him to tell me I was going to have to live a quiet life.
Don Winters recalls his recovery.
Marty said the first thing he wanted when he was able to raise his hands, he wanted a guitar. And he said he wrote a song called My Woman, My Woman, My Wife. And he wrote it for his dear wife, Arizona, because she was always there, and she inspired him to write this song. Well, I couldn't believe it. Marty, within about 4 weeks after his operation, he was on the farm on a tractor plowing. I found this hard to believe, but he was a determined man, and you couldn't hold him down. He's one of these people, I guess, that just overcome all the obstacles and got right back on his feet.
And so, in a matter of weeks, Marty made his return appearance at the Opry. Just days later, Marty starred in his very own television special, which was hosted by his close friend, Nashville's premier DJ and TV talk show host, Ralph Embry.
Hey, John. I'm fine, thank you.
Well, you probably knew Marty better than anybody. How long was your relationship?
I knew Marty for 30 years, from 1953 until he died. I knew Marty when I worked at Franklin, Tennessee, and then I knew him when I moved to Nashville to WSIX. He used to come down and appear on a program I did there, and then I moved to WSM, and I played records all night. And Marty loved to play the piano, and he would come in and play the piano all night, and he must have known bits and pieces of 1,000 songs. In the beginning, he was very shy about letting anybody watch this, but he was very relaxed. But basically, that consisted of Marty playing for hours upon hours, and occasionally, just to give him a break and me a break, we'd play a record.
I hear that there were a couple of many funny things that happened where trying to interview Marty on the show, not singing but talking.
Of all the people I have ever interviewed, only 2 intimidated me, particularly in the young years. One was Johnny Cash, and the other was Marty Robbins. And one night he came in about 2:30 in the morning, and I said, "Great, folks, Marty Robbins is here. Hi, Marty." And he wouldn't say a word. So I'd come out of the record, and this one, and I would say, "Marty Robbins is here. Come on, Marty. Now tell these folks you're here." So we can,
please.
You want to play the piano? You want to play the guitar? He wouldn't say a word. This went on for half an hour. And finally, about 3 in the morning, he kicked in and said hello. Another thing he would do, Murfreesboro, Tennessee is a town about, I guess, 30, 40 miles up I-24. And he would drive to Murfreesboro so that he could place a long-distance call to my all-night program as a truck driver. And he would change his voice, and I've forgotten the name he would use, but he would change his voice and call me and tell me, now, first of all, he would set you up by telling you how wonderful he thought you were. So he said, well, I listen to your program all the time. I really think you're terrific. And, you know, now he's got you hooked. And you say, well, great. Let me play you a record. Who's your favorite singer? He said, boy, I love it, Marty Robbins. I think that Marty Robbins is the greatest singer I ever heard.
You also did, you did radio. You've done a lot of things together. You did television as well.
The most delightful and perhaps the most spontaneous things we did were 2 shows we did in 1970. The first one was right after Marty had had his open heart surgery, and it was a show to welcome him back. I think you alluded to that. And we climaxed it in October during Country Music Month and during the Disc Jockey Convention with a battle of bands, or actually a battle of songs and a battle of songsters. Marty Robbins versus Merle Haggard.
Oh, really?
And Marty wore the wildest blue and white check jacket. And I told him, I said, you may not out-sing Merle, but you sure outdressed him.
Let him wear the coat.
There you go. Feel undressed, sir. Let me have yours. Okay. Friends, you have to have a lot of nerve to stay in this business.
And they really got into some great chemistry. The reason I selected them was because of their mutual respect. They had mutual respect for each other's talent, and they liked each other as individuals. Merle even did an impression of Marty Robbins.
Now, do you better hang on that, buddy.
Do you feel like Marty Robbins now?
No. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I told Mary about us. I told her about everything. Mary cried, forgave me. Mary took me back again. Said if I wanted my freedom, I could be free evermore. But I don't want to be, and I don't want to see Mary cry anymore. Oh, devil woman, mess with me. Devil woman, mess with me. Leave me alone, I want to go home.
Those were the two that had the greatest spontaneity and fun and warmth.
I want you to be as happy as I when you love me. I'll never forget you. You're a sweet memory. It's all over now. Don't worry about me. When one heart tells one heart goodbye. One heart is free. One heart will cry. Oh, 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 oh. Sweet baby, sweet. It's all right now. Don't worry about me.
Barbara Mandrell shares memories and performances with Marty when we return to Marty Robbins, Super Legend.
The music industry is rich with talented performers. But what is it? What is it that sets some apart, that they're called great entertainers? Well, when Marty expressed his thoughts on what makes a great entertainer, He described superstar Barbara Mandrell.
I thought it was, it was right. Barbara Mandrell winning the Entertainer of the Year, because I think to be an entertainer, you have to entertain and sing. So to be an entertainer, you have to do a number of things. You can play the guitar, you can play 3 or 4 different instruments, and you can sing, and you can pull a little comedy.
What a beautiful
That's not it.
That wasn't
I don't know why you got me into that. You know how much I like Roy Cuff?
I love
You
it.
did that to me for...
I love that.
Play something that, the guy wanted to boogie, he could. Get down.
All right,
bad.
something a little bit more oomph to it.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
You know it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And I think you'll find that the feelings Barbara expressed show that the admiration was mutual.
To me, Marty Robbins was, in every sense of the word, an entertainer for a very important reason. When he performed for you, when he performed for me, he really concentrated on us. He gave a lot of physical energy and a tremendous amount of emotional and mental energy. He shared with us. He was himself. He was warm. I always got such a marvelous, great feeling of being entertained when he performed.
Ribbon of darkness over me, since my true love was time to go. Tears I never had before. Ribbon of darkness over me. Clouds are gathering over my head that chill the day and hide the sun, that shroud the night when day is done. Ribbon of darkness over me. I've never noticed anything as pretty as you. Rain is falling on the meadow where once my love and I did lie. Now she is gone from the meadow, my love, goodbye. How I wish your heart could see how mine just aches and breaks all day. Come on back and take away ribbon of darkness over me.
One of my favorite memories of Marty Robbins was something that occurred during fanfare at a thing called the All-American Country Games. And I was very proud that I was one of the team captains. There was a red team, a blue team, and a white team. And he was on my team. And I think of all the things we had in common, this was the most special thing to me. Marty Robbins was a tremendous competitor. And I'm sure that maybe you think that you know that because of his fantastic race car driving and, his sportsmanship that made him want to compete. But I mean, he was a very competitive person. That particular day, it was close to 100 degrees out there. We were so hot. We were so tired. It was all we could do to put forth all this physical energy. And Marty had already had some very difficult physical conditions and had had the open heart surgery. And I remember being so shocked when I turned and looked, and I put him in the soccer competition, but only to do a little bit of it, in and out, and not be in that long in the heat. He was in there the whole time. I mean, fighting, going, doing, kicking. He wanted to win. He loved it, every minute of it. And I think that of all the things, that's what I most shared in common with the fantastic sportsman, Marty Robbins. Working with Marty Robbins, those of us that had the privilege of being able to work with Marty Robbins, I must say, we never knew what was ahead because he would always do things on such a spur of the moment, whatever he felt like, whatever was going through his mind at the time. And he was so funny and so witty. And I remember doing his television show, I kept thinking, well, now, are you going to get serious when we actually do our number, you know, and taking it very serious? But with Marty, sometimes he did, and sometimes he didn't. But that made it great.
There's a place in every barroom and a verse in every song for a woman trapped in lonely by a man who's done her wrong. Now I thought that neon nightmares were like Sunday summer scares, till I turned to face the man I loved and found a pillow there. Is there room for another midnight angel? Are there words for another hurting song? You can write. Is there room for another midnight angel? If there is, I'm there. I'll have my wings before the morning comes.
Well, if you want to try, make me over into something else that fits your plans. It's all right if you will only tell me what it's gonna take to be your man. Love me, oh, love me like nobody else can do. And just let me go on needing you.
There's an expression in our business that says, the show must go on. Now, I don't know who it was that ever invented that saying, but sometimes you wonder, you know, were they insane, were they nuts? Because there are times when it's incredibly difficult. Marty Robbins was a tremendous example for all of us as far as having difficult things that could be a great setback in terms of not wanting to perform. I don't feel like it. I have to take care of my health. Why should I bother? But Marty, because of his heart, in the sense of not just the, sadly, the physical things that were wrong, but his heart was so full of love for all of us that enjoyed his music, that he knew his show must go on. He wanted to bring that show to us. I've thought about that many, many times, and I've used that as an example to myself. He was quite a man in that respect, in every sense of the word.
A superstar and a super legend, both hard-driven and both building careers on heartfelt relationships with their fans.
Next, Marty the race car driver with NASCAR greats Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip on Marty Robbins' Super Legend.
Ask Marty about Devil Woman, and he might have talked about his hit song, or maybe his stock car, or maybe even both.
Devil woman, don't. Devil woman, let me be. Leave me alone, I wanna go.
Music and racing were two of Marty's greatest joys, and they could not be separated. As a matter of fact, there was a tradition at the Grand Ole Opry that developed because of Marty's racing. Every Saturday night, Marty was the last act to appear, just so he'd have time to race at the Nashville Speedway before going on stage. You know, some people even say that Marty ran his best race on those last-minute trips from the racetrack to the Opry. With Marty, it was almost an obsession. Long ago, he had decided that racing couldn't just be a spectator sport for him. Like many other celebrities, like Gene Hackman, Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, James Garner, and even myself, Marty just couldn't resist the thrills of high-speed racing.
Well, I think I'm a careful driver. Now, as far as being as a good driver, I think you better ask the other drivers about that. But I don't think I get in their way. You know, I try to stay out of the way of the fast ones. And I find me one that's about my speed, and I chase him all day long. See, that's what the fun of it is.
The first time I had the opportunity to meet Marty, I was involved in the NASCAR racing circuit myself as an associate sponsor for Terry Labonte's racing team. I also had a shop out in Burbank, California, where we fixed exotic cars and had a bunch of race cars laying around on the floor. And Marty'd always come by there whenever he performed anywhere near Hollywood to look at the cars and to tinker around and just to have a good time. It was neat to see someone of his stature in there getting his hands dirty and really just acting kind of like a little kid. Because he's been in racing for quite some time, starting out with the micro midgets on a dirt track just outside of Nashville in the 60s. And then, of course, the next step that he took was into the modified class, and that was right at the Nashville Speedway. By 1972, Marty had moved to NASCAR's Grand National Events, where he raced against the advice of doctors, against the wishes of family, friends, and also business associates. And Marty raced until just 1 month before his death, when he entered in the Atlanta 500. Well, we've been talking an awful lot about racing, but here are two gentlemen who can tell you what it's like from right behind the wheel. Ladies and gentlemen, NASCAR superstars Bobby Allison and Darrell Waltrip. I have to ask a question. There are people who sing, there are people who write, and there are people who race. Was Marty Robbins considered a singer who was trying to race, or was Marty Robbins considered a race driver when he was on the track?
Well, I probably raced against Marty before Darrell did. And I would say that at first Marty was a singer who had a second love that was racing, and he began to pursue that. The problem with us was that he got better at it. And that led into his continuation of his racing activities.
Yeah.
I would say at first he found himself in strange territory, but he got where he could really go good in a car.
Yeah, he always told me he was using his singing talents to back into his driving career. That's what he told me. He was trying to make an income, get some money so he could sponsor a race car. That was a good way to do it.
I've heard stories about a certain 100-lap championship race where Marty was running first for 83 laps until a certain individual passed him and won. Would that be you?
Well, yeah, and in fact, let me tell you how I remember that. He didn't run first for the first 83 laps. He ran first a lot during the first 83 laps. We swapped the lead several times that night. And I finally got the lead back right there at the end of the race and was able to hold on to it.
Let me tell you how I remember it.
Okay.
Because Marty told me, and I'm sure this is the way it was. He looked at his watch. It was 9:45, and he had to be on the Opry at 10 o'clock. So at 83 laps, he couldn't help it till the race wasn't over, but he had to pull in and come on over to the Opry so he wouldn't miss the show.
He finished second, Darrell.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. I think a track that he really liked, and I think everyone will have to agree with me, the track that he really enjoyed going to and running at was Talladega.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was an incredibly fast place, but at 180, 185 miles an hour, the track really was drivable. And that's the speeds we were running at the time. And I'll tell another cute little story on them if you'll let me.
Sure.
My brother was keeping his car up at the time. And this was one of the famous purple and yellow Dodges that Marty loved. And Marty came and said, "Eddie, I really want to go fast. Can't you do something for me?" And Eddie said, "Well, you know, we're doing all we can, Marty. You know, got certain rules." He says, "Well, Eddie, come on, do something for him.
Oh, no.
Fix this thing.
So Eddie,
Make it
Eddie
go.
did something for him. And Marty was out there, you know, he waited until the race was going on quite a ways, and we had an apparatus that let all the restrictors fall out of the carburetor.
Oops.
And so now all of a sudden he had a great big carburetor. And Marty is out there, and he's passing Richard Petty, and he's passing me, and he's passing David Pearson. And he'd go by, and then he'd back off, you know, and then he'd pass again. And finally he pulled in the pits and confessed to NASCAR, you know, that he had violated the rules a little bit. And they got all upset about everything, but we all had a good laugh about that, and I think Marty probably had his most enjoyable race that day.
He told me, he said, I just wanted to pull up beside of Richard Petty one time and look him in the eye.
Bye.
That was great.
It was a priceless moment.
And of course, you know, we know that he also was involved in a very bad crash there. Talladega not only is famous for its great speed, but also for its just chilling crashes. And he was unfortunate enough to be involved in one of those. But he went to Daytona and raced hard there and went fast. And, of course, at Charlotte. Had a little unfortunate incident at one of the races at Charlotte.
I was up in front of him. Myself and 2 or 3 other cars were spinning, and I don't really recall what happened to cause it, but I look up the track, and Marty was coming down through there with several other cars. And to show his ability as a race driver, he turned his car, hit the concrete wall to keep from hitting me in the door. And probably if he hadn't have did that, if he had not been a good, experienced race driver, I may not be here today.
He was known as a driver more than he was what we refer to as a crash artist. You know, guys that don't race a lot have a tendency to come in and they're not used to the car and the track, and they get themselves in a lot of trouble. Marty was he was conservative enough and he was intelligent enough to know the difference between going too fast and ever how fast Marty wanted to go. And he normally didn't get himself in a lot of trouble. He usually kept his nose clean, and he had some good finishes over the years. He finished real well at Darlington one year, which I know I've heard Ronnie say that was probably his best race. And Darlington is our toughest track, so really? to finish in the top 10 there is a real feat.
Did you guys ever see him in concert? I mean, you hung out on the track, but did you ever go into his other world?
Sure did.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, he did some concerts prior to races just for the competitors on a number of occasions. But I think one of our finest hours as not competitors, but as entertainers, was in 1970, what, Bobby, 3, 4, 5, somewhere along there when we did NASCAR Goes Country.
About 73.
Yeah. We did an album, 6 of us, 6 drivers, and it was up at the Bradley's Barn up in Mount Juliet, I think it was. And Marty attended our sessions on 2 or 3 days there and critiqued our singing. And he said that we set the music industry back about 20 years by virtue of doing that. So we made a deal from that point on that we wouldn't get into singing, and he would kind of cut back on his racing.
Oh, yeah. As you can see, racing and country music were intertwined in Marty's life. He once said that his stage show developed because of his racing. Since he was the last act on, and the people had already been there for a couple of hours, he was afraid that they might be tired and worn out. So after he finished a song, he'd stand back and he'd yell, "Hey, Marty, that was great!" And he'd whistle backstage, and people would just love it. The fooling around became part of all of his shows, and it was one of his trademarks. Don Winters and Bobby Sykes spent more than 25 years with Marty as his band members and his very close friends, and they saw how the audiences reacted.
Marty was very lively on stage. He used the whole stage. He was always giving it this and that and everything, and he always succeeded. By the end of the first or second number, he would have everybody in that audience participating in that show. He felt that if he could get them involved in the show to the point where they were having a good time, then we had a good time on stage, and especially Marty.
He could do anything in the world. He had the fans right in his hands, and they loved him. He loved them. You could see it. It's something that just got in the air in these shows, and I tell you, just watching him perform and watching the people, you know, as he was performing, just looking at them, you know, while he was looking at him, you could see the love there.
Well, I guess the only thing left to do now is take you to a Marty Robbins concert, and that's coming up next.
Still to come, Marty at his best, and a conversation with his family on Marty Robbins' Super Legend.
A Coliseum full of fans. Marty Robbins at his very best, in concert.
You take me past El Paso? Honey, you're making me feel like a young man. And that's dangerous. All right. All right. See if you remember this song here.
Return to me. Oh, my dear, I'm so lonely. Hurry back, oh, my love, hurry back, I'm yours. Return to me, for my heart wants you only. Hurry back, won't you please hurry back to my heart. My darling, if I hurt you, I'm sorry. Forgive me, and please say you are mine. Regrese a mí. No me dejes tan solo. Hurry back, oh my love, hurry back to my beyond the reef, where the sea is dark and cold. My love has gone, and my dreams grow old. There'll be no tears, there'll be no regretting. Will she remember me? Easy, baby. Will she forget? I'll send 1,000 flowers with a trade wind flow. I'll send my lonely heart, 'cause I love her so. Someday I know she'll come back again to me. Till then my heart will be beyond the reach.
Now, I want to do a song here. Like I said a while ago, I've written quite a lot of songs, you see. Some I'm proud of, some I'm not. This song has been recorded by many people. Now, some of them, you people don't know the man that first recorded this. His name is Frankie Lane. He had a big hit on this song. And since then, many people have recorded this, including myself. But I'm really proud that Elvis did it, because he recorded it even though he only put it in an album, his albums sell like my singles, you know, a lot. Now wait, I don't want to give it to you too quick. You can't handle it. Because I know, you see, I can't do the song as well as the others do it. But you got to remember this. I wrote the song, and if I want to, I can sing it.
Born in the heat of the desert, my mother died giving me life. Despised and disliked by my father, blamed for the loss of his wife. You know, Lord, I've been in a prison for something that I never done. It's been one hill after another, and I've climbed them, Lord, one by one. But this time you gave me a mountain, that I may never climb. It isn't a hill any longer. Lord, you gave me a mountain this time. My woman got tired of the hardship, tired of the grief and the strife, tired of working for nothing, tired of being my wife. She took my one ray of sunshine, she took my pride and my joy, she took my reason for living, when she took my small baby boy. And this time you gave me a mountain, that I may never climb. It isn't a hill any longer. Lord, you gave me a mountain this time.
There's another one here that I want to do for you. This was a song also recorded by Elvis Presley. Now wait! I also recorded it. Now you see, on the other one, he did a lot better than I did, you see. But on this particular song right here, you see, Presley recorded it first. But see, for Presley, now the song didn't do too well. But for me, it went to number one. So watch, see what I tell you.
Well, that's all right, Mom. That's all right with you. That's all right, Mama. Any way you want to do, well, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Mama.
told me, Mama done told me too. Son, that girl you're living with, she ain't no good to you. Well, that's all right. That's all right. That's all right, Mama. Anyway you do.
Personal memories of Marty with his family. Arizona, Ronnie, and Janet. Next on Marty Robbins, Super Legend.
She's the foundation I lean on. My woman, my woman, my wife.
My Woman, My Woman, My Wife. A very special song in Marty Robbins' career. It was special because it won Marty his second Grammy Award, but even more so because it was one of the rare insights into a very private side of Marty Robbins. That side is his family life. And here's the lady that song was written about. Marty's very, very special and very lovely wife, Marizona. Hello. How are you? You look wonderful. I understand that you and Marty met in a soda shop. What were your first impressions of him?
Oh, I was only 15.
Uh-huh.
And he had just gotten out of the Navy, and he was, I like to say he was fresh out of the Navy because he was very, very fresh the first time I saw him. Came in and he was quite flirty.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it must have been love at first sight. I was 15 and he was 20, so my mother thought he was an old man.
An old man at 20?
Right.
Oh, well, what's that
She
make
wanted
me?
to know why I wanted to date that old man. But he drove up on a motorcycle while I was working in the malt shop, and he said, he told his buddy, he says, I'm going to marry that girl. First time he laid eyes on me.
Really?
So I worked till midnight, and he asked me if he could walk me home during, each night, and so that's how it started.
So what was it that got you from, your name has Arizona. What is it that got you to move, you all to pack up bag and baggage and move to Nashville, Tennessee?
Well, I have to tell you this. We were living in a one-room trailer, and Marty was making about $14 a week, and he used to say, I'm going to be on the Grand Ole Opry, and I'm going to make records. And I didn't want to discourage him, but I really didn't believe it. But he really had that, he used to say, if I want something badly enough, and I pray for it, God will give it to me. And so he was doing a television show every day, and I think Jimmy Dickens, and there were others, I believe, who had seen him. And he got an offer to be on the Grand Ole Opry for I think just a guest spot at first. And then they liked him, so we moved to Nashville, and I'm telling you, it was hard on me because I loved Phoenix.
Marty and Marizona's marriage lasted 34 wonderful years, and he was blessed with 2 children, Ronnie and Janet. Did he share a lot of his childhood with you? Did he talk about growing up and where his music came from?
Well, I think he didn't talk a lot. In my early childhood, he didn't talk about his childhood much because he had a pretty hard childhood. His biggest influence, I think, was probably I guess we have found out since we've started researching that it was his grandfather's. His name was Texas Bob Heckle, and he was probably a medicine man. I don't know. He's a little bit of everything. He was supposed to be in a Texas Ranger, and just a pretty colorful guy, And I think he was really instrumental in planting a lot of seeds in Daddy's mind that became song ideas later on.
So he had a choice of becoming a medicine man, a Texas Ranger, or a musician. I think we're all pretty glad he chose the musician.
I think I am.
Janet, now you've written a lot of songs. You sing as well. Very, very musical, very talented family. Tell us a little bit about growing up with Marty Robbins.
Dad is my idol. He was. Every time, if he were on the road and maybe I would get a little lonely or start missing him, then I'd just go get an album, put it on, put on a cowboy hat, pretend I was Marty Robbins, or go out on the range and then come back to Earth and into my real little life. And he was my idol.
Really?
Sure.
That's
Sure he
terrific.
was. I always wanted to be able to sing as well as he could.
Yeah.
I still do.
Are you Daddy's little girl?
Oh, always, of
Uh-huh.
course. I was Daddy's little princess.
Oh.
Yes. Well, being the only girl, it wasn't difficult to do.
Little rat.
Yeah. That too.
Yeah.
I remember how excited she was once when she came back from Florida after being down there for a while, and she said, "Mama, Daddy is a great entertainer." She said, "I knew he could sing, but I didn't know he could entertain."
I was 19 years old before I ever saw my own father before, I believe. So when I came back, I made the realization, or found the realization, that he was a good entertainer.
It was hard to picture him when we were growing up as an entertainer because we didn't see that side. You know, he was totally different when he was at home. He was very much a father, very much just a family man, and he went to great extremes to separate that. And the first time, well, of course, I saw him on TV. I think when I was around 3 years old, and back then there were about 4-foot cabinets and about a 10-inch screen. And it was big enough to get somebody inside of one, but being 3 years old, I thought he was inside of that box. and I was looking around behind it trying to figure out how to get him out, And I really never saw him again, I guess, until I was around 15, when I went on a road trip with him to Charlotte, North Carolina. It was a big package show with the Osmond Brothers, and it seemed to me like Farron Young was on that. I don't remember now, but he was the headliner, Dad was the headliner, and that was about a 20,000-seater Coliseum, and it was full.
I've heard a lot about the work being work and family and home life being family and home life, but I understand that there's a time or two where those boundaries were crossed, where a little bit of work happened not only with Marty out on the road, but with you as well.
My son, my son!
I was encouraged to get in the show business. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd gotten into it if he hadn't encouraged me, but he didn't, he never was pushy. He always let me, go to school and flunk out, work with little college bands, and I don't know, he really let me learn for myself what I wanted to do, and he showed me by experience rather than just by saying, this is the way it needs to be done, or this, do it this way because that's the way I say. He wasn't like that. And he showed me how to do it by his experience and really, just by being a good teacher. And he was.
And Janet, now, being Daddy's little girl, and being someone, Marty, who's been in show business for so long, at the time, and knowing what on the road is like and knowing what all the kind of the perils of show business are, did he have any specific advice or particular warnings to give you about getting into showbiz?
Lots of warnings. As far as advice, probably the best advice, and that could go towards anything, not only just performing, just believe in yourself. And when other people recognize that, that they will also believe in yourself too. And it works.
How come you didn't sing?
I often say I sure hate to live on what I could make singing.
Well, you will be around forever in a beautiful, beautiful song, My Woman, My Woman, My Wife.
Hands are strong, but wrinkle, doing work that never gets done. Hair that's lost of the beauty, right too many hours in the sun. Eyes that show some disappointment, and there's been quite a lot in her life. She's the foundation I lean on, my woman, my woman, my wife. Every day has been uphill. We climb, but we can't reach the top.
I'm weak and I'm easily discouraged. She just smiles when I want to start. Lips that are weary but tender, with love that strengthens my life. A sailor dress made of gingham, my woman, my wife. Two little babies were born in the spring, but died when the winter was new. I lost control of my mind and my soul, but my woman's faith carried us through. When she reaches that river, Lord, you know what she's worth. Give her that mansion up yonder, 'cause she's been through hell here on earth. Lord, give her my share of heaven, if I've earned any here in this life. God, I believe she deserves it. My woman, my woman, my
Coming up next, lifelong friend Brenda Lee and country music's highest honor on Marty Robbins' Super Legend.
There's nothing left for me of days that used to be. I live in memories among my souvenirs.
That song was never supposed to be recorded by Marty. As a matter of fact, it was cut at the end of the session almost as an afterthought. Selected on a whim, it became another #1 hit for him. And that's just the way things happen for Marty. He bent the rules, he broke the rules, and he took chances. Marty did things his way, and Marty was usually right. There is one young lady who knew Marty both as a fellow performer and also as a personal friend. Why don't you welcome one of country music's most special ladies, Miss Brenda Lee.
Thank you.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Just fine. You look terrific.
Thank you.
What was it like? Of all the people that I've talked to, very few people have been able to say that they were his friend and that they worked with him as well.
Well, I met Marty when I was very young, about 10 or 11, when I first came to Nashville. We did some shows together, and then I used to go to his house. And after I married, I still went to his house, and he'd sit down at the piano and play. In fact, he had just written a song once when I went over called Don't Worry About Me. He sat down on the piano, and he played it, and he said, what do you think about this? And it was, now that I think back, at the time, it was like that wasn't anything unusual. But now when I think back, I think, golly, Marty Robbins. And I sat there, and he played me this song, you know, and he wanted my opinion. And he was a great guy, and he loved performing. And I think the main reason he did was because of the fans. He had no age gap. Little kids loved him, and teenagers loved him, and wives loved him, and grandmothers loved him, and men liked him. Yeah. So he covered all bases, and it was wonderful.
Well, speaking of fans, I know that a lot of times you read in the papers about fans who send letters and things when people have health problems and things. He had a heart attack in 1981. That kept him off the road for, I believe it was 2 months.
He got right back up again. you know, after he had it, of course, he got a tremendous amount of mail, thousands and thousands and thousands of letters. And I think he just made up his mind that he was going to go out and resume the same things that he had always done, but with more vigor, and he certainly did that. And he was never one to sort of lay down and give up.
I've waited all evening for you to come on. I just, and since you've been off and you've not been feeling well, and we're so glad to have you back, and we're glad that you're in good health.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be back. This is my first time back since back in December sometime.
Yeah.
And
Well, you promised me a few things, Marty, if I should put you on the spot. I know that you've got a little troubles within your health, and I do have the same troubles that you do. Let's you and I both try to stay around here for a long, long time, because we need people like you.
I tell you now, I want to stay around because, you see, I owe too much money to go. So I have got to stay.
Yeah, well, both of us.
And I'm taking my time paying them off.
Well,
I always have to come back on how much Marty thrived on the love of the fans.
That's right, and not just here, but all over the world, you know, especially in England. I remember once he went over to do the Wembley Festival, and then after that he had to go back every year. So they loved him. Marty knew how much his fans loved him, but in the final year of his life, he found out just how much all of us in country music thought of him.
It was 1982, the night that Marty Robbins was inducted to the Country Music Hall of Fame. There, under Marty's portrait, is this inscription: Marty Robbins, quintessential entertainer whose music has delighted audiences everywhere. His Arizona heritage greatly influenced the Western ballads he was later to write and record. He won the first Grammy Award for a country song, El Paso, was the first Nashville artist to appear in Las Vegas, and the first to perform at the new Opry House. One of country's most successful stars, he has won innumerable awards for his recording, writing, and performing. Marty's good friend, a 20-year Hall of Famer himself, Eddie Arnold, presented the award that night. In looking back, Marty's acceptance speech was almost prophetic.
Marty Robbins, come up here.
Welcome to the Hall of Fame, Marty.
Well, I don't know, somebody's looking at me. I never had any idea that this would happen, because I really feel there are other people that deserve it, you know, before I should get it. But I think, you know, possibly that it might not happen again, so I'm going to take it tonight. And I thank everybody that had anything to do with it. And I do appreciate it very much. And I appreciate being on the show here tonight. Thank you.
Marty Robbins and an award-winning song next on Marty Robbins' Super Legend.
Well, 2 hours is hardly enough time to paint a portrait of a man as complex as Marty Robbins. But from the time that we've spent with his family, his friends, and his music, we can each make our own memory of Marty. We've seen the kind of man that he was. He was a fighter and a winner, and there was no quit in him. Even in what was to be his last fight, he survived a massive heart attack and a 9-hour quadruple bypass operation. The end came 1 week later, as family, friends, and fans alike prayed for a miracle to happen. But on December 8th, 1982, Marty Robbins passed away. A few short months earlier, he'd recorded a song that came to have a very special meaning to those who loved him. Some memories just won't die. Well, he will be remembered, and probably remembered in a way that mattered to him most.
I would like to be remembered as a good entertainer, a good person. I think maybe better as a good person.
Just won't die. Some feelings just won't be. Oh, no matter how hard you try. In the every now and then, you still think of him. I see it in your eyes. Some memories just nothing left for me of days that used to be. I live in memories of moments